Hello everyone, hope you all had a wonderful week. So here we get into chapter 3 of business studies, business environment. What is business environment? For example, you're sitting at your home studying for your exams which is happening tomorrow. There is this temple next to your house in which there is a festival going and which is playing loud music, loud jarring music. And the next day you step out of your house to go to the exam hall, the CM of your state imposes a lockdown. So are these factors, this loud music in the temple, this lockdown in the state, are these factors in your control? No, not at all. But these are things, these are factors which can potentially affect your performance in your exams. So what is this? The same thing when it applies to business, that's called business environment. So what is business environment? Business environment is a total of all individuals, all the enterprises, all the institutions, all the other factors that operate outside a business, but which can potentially affect a business performance. That's called business environment. So it is a total of all individuals, all institutions, all enterprises, all other factors that operate outside a business but which can potentially affect a business performance. That is business environment. So what are the features of business environment? It is very easy. You can take it right from the example. Feature number 1, totality of all forces. As we discussed in the definition, this feature number 1, totality of all forces, is nothing but business environment is the totality of all forces. This all forces includes all individuals, all enterprises, all institutions, all the other forces that operate outside business but which can affect business. That's which can impact business. That is totality of all forces. When we are talking about forces, the next one, these forces could be specific and general forces. What are specific forces? Specific forces are specific to your business. It could be your investors, it could be your shareholders, it could be the government regulations which apply to you, your business specifically. It could be the demand notices that you got from income tax department. It could be your debenture holders. These are specific forces to your business. What are general forces? General forces are the changes which are happening in technological environment, political environment, social environment, economic environment, legal environment, which are outside your business, which affect the business indirectly, not directly, indirectly. These are general forces. The next feature is interrelatedness. What is interrelatedness? All the factors of business environment are interrelated in nature. For example, it is because of this growing health consciousness among people that there are growing gyms, apps like YourFit, CultFit, all this culture is growing. Health tourism is growing. Health resorts are growing. It is all growing because there is this consciousness about health among people, the increasing consciousness. That is interrelatedness. The next one is dynamic nature. When there are so many factors involved in business environment, it is meant to be dynamic. Dynamic is changing. You are not able to predict it. It keeps changing. It could be because of the entry of new competitors into the market. It could be because of changing technological situation in the market, changing customer preferences. All this could be factors. So, business environment is dynamic in nature. When it is dynamic, it is also uncertain. Why is it uncertain? Because there are so many factors involved that you are not able to relate to which factor caused this. You are not able to directly relate this cause and effect relationship. This you are not able to directly arrive at because there are a lot of factors involved in business environment. So it is uncertain. When it is uncertain, what is the next one? It is very complex. It is very complex to understand. Since there are a lot of forces, like the Chief Economic Advisor of India, once he said 2 years back, there is this huge economic slowdown, but at the same time, markets are booming, stock markets are booming. I'm not able to understand what factor leads to the stock market boom, is what he was saying. So, someone as big as an economic advisor is not able to understand what are the different factors that are making up the business environment. So, in that meaning, business environment is extremely complex because there are a lot of factors involved. And the last one is relativity. What is relativity? The factors of business environment are very relative. They change from region to region, culture to culture, nation to nation. It's like that. For example, India has got demand for saris. Saris have a lot of demand in India, whereas the sari market does not have even any demand in Switzerland or France, because business environment is very relative in nature. Now let's just go through a revision of the features of business environment. The first one is totality of all forces. When we're talking about forces, feature number 2, specific and general forces. When we're talking about 2, specific and general forces, feature number 3, interrelatedness. When there are so many features involved, business environment is dynamic, which is feature number 4. When it is dynamic, it is uncertain. So uncertainty is feature number 5. Since there is a lot of uncertainty, lot of factors involved, it is highly complex. So feature number 6 is complexity, and the feature number 7 of business environment is relativity. So next, we are going to discuss on importance of business environment. A business which is able to scan the environment really well, which is able to understand the changes which are happening in the business environment around it, which is able to interpret the key takeaways from the changes which are happening in the business environment, that is the kind of business which will have certain advantages which the other business houses will not enjoy. So, what are the advantages that a business will enjoy if it is able to understand the changes in business environment very well? So here we get into the importance of business environment. Point number 1. Understanding business environment enables a firm to identify opportunities and to gain the first mover advantage. For example, let us assume the company is involved in app creation. It is involved in app creation which is similar to TikTok. Now, across India, there is this campaign going on boycotting Chinese products. So now is the time for a firm like that to take it up and to market it really well and to sell the product, to push the product into the market. So if the business is something which has understood its environment very well, it will understand that there is this vibe which is in the entire country of boycotting Chinese products, and now is the time for us to push our product inside the Indian market very firmly. And that is identifying opportunities and gaining the first mover advantage. What is the point number 2? It is to identify early threats and to gain early warning signals. So to identify threats and get the early warning signals. For example, the company is looking into business environment really well. It knows that there is going to be a pandemic, and because of this pandemic, there is going to be a lockdown which is going to be imposed in India. The company is involved in real estate. It wants to make a huge investment involving huge number of migrant laborer to get into a project work. Now, if it has understood the business environment really well, it will know that there is going to be a lockdown. So this is not the right time to start this project. So it will postpone the project for a better period. So that is identifying early warning signals and to identify threats. The third advantage, it helps in tapping useful resources. For example, now the government has given a lot of loans to MSME companies. There is the companies which are in micro, small and medium enterprises sector. So to these companies, the government has given huge value of loans. Now, if my company is involved in MSME sector and I really know that this is going to benefit me, and if I'm watching the environment very well, if I'm looking into the business news really well, I know that this loan is for me and I'll go and grab the loan. And that is why a scanning business environment helps in tapping useful resources. So the next advantage of understanding business environment is it helps you cope up with rapid changes. For example, in the months of January or February, but any time before the lockdown, companies were conducting face-to-face conference meetings, face-to-face board meetings, etc. But now is the time during lockdown when the companies will have to meet in a virtual manner, say through apps like Zoom or WhatsApp or Skype, etc. So now, if the company is something which is watching its business environment really well, it will know that all the competitive business houses are conducting meetings through Zoom or through WhatsApp or through Skype, etc. So, it is important you change according to the changes that happen in the business environment. So, when you're continuously watching the business environment, it helps you cope up with rapid changes that are taking place. And next one is that understanding business environment helps in planning and policy formulation. For example, you are a kirana shop. Now, the country's biggest corporate house, Reliance, is going to launch the Reliance Jio Mart, which is consolidating all the kirana shops and which is going to make business very easy for these shops. It will be more like an Amazon or Amazon or a Flipkart model, whereby you'll be able to sell provisions through this app, which mainly focuses on WhatsApp. So, if you're someone who are reading the news daily, who's watching business environment daily, and if you're a kirana shop, you know that you'll have to contact Reliance Jio Mart. You'll understand the ways of how to collaborate with it, and you'll know how to take your business to the next level. So that's what understanding business environment helps you in. It helps you in planning and policy formulation. And finally, when you understand the business environment very well, with all these advantages, that is, it helps you identify opportunities and to gain the first mover advantage. It helps you identify threats and gives you the early warning signals. It helps you cope up with rapid changes which are happening in the business environment. It helps you tap useful resources. It helps in planning and policy formulation. When you understand the business environment with all these advantages, it helps you improve the overall performance of your business, because you know what are the changes are going to happen in the business and you know how to cope up with it. You know what is the future for your business, and that is how it helps you improve your performance. So next, we are going to discuss on dimensions of business environment. Dimensions are the factors which could be economic, political, legal, social, technological, which are required for the purpose of decision making, which are to be considered for the purpose of decision making, and which could improve a business enterprise's performance. Those are the dimensions of business environment. Let's go one by one. First one, economic environment. Economic environment is made up of the changes in interest rates. It deals with changes in repo rates. It deals with changes in consumer price index, wholesale price index, general disposable income of people, money supply in the market, cost inflation index. All these factors, they come into economic environment. For example, if the RBI is slashing down, it is reducing the interest rates, that is the right time for you to take a loan. When you take a loan, when interest rates are slashed down, what happens is your interest outflow gets lesser. So that is the right time for you. That is on economic environment. Next is on social environment. Social environment deals with traditions, customs, values, social trends, society's expectations from business, all these factors. These all make up the social environment. So what are traditions? Traditions are the values which are, the culture which is followed for over a long period of time. Those are called traditions. These are practices which are practiced for a long period of time. For example, any business during Diwali or any of the festivals, Diwali, Shankranti or Baisakhi or any of the festivals, for any confectionery business, their sales are going to go very high. For any business which is dealing with greeting cards, their sales are going to go very high. So that is how you analyze. For example, society's expectation from business. Now each and every part of the society is expecting, is looking at what is the corporate social responsibility, what is the CSR contribution that each business makes to the society. That is something which everyone in the society is now looking at. That is one way that people are valuing or rating a business organization. And when we speak about social trends, for example, now the biggest trend in India is the spiritual development. People are looking out for spiritual development, spiritual balancing. So that is one of the reasons why there is growth in yoga classes, meditation classes. These classes are growing because that has become the social trend now. So that is on social environment. Next, coming to technological environment. Technological environment deals with all the scientific improvements and innovations which help in creating new ways of producing products, new ways of rendering services for any business. That's called a technological environment. It is made up of innovations and scientific improvements. For example, it is the cell phone industry which actually completely eroded the DSLR or SLR industry. The camera industry is now faded out because of invention of phones with cameras. And for example, now most of the banking services are offered at ATM machines only, are offered at ATM centers. So people physically going to banks is reduced so much because of an innovation called ATM. So that is on technological environment. Next is on political environment. Political environment speaks more on the political stability, the way a government rules the country. That is on political environment. Wherever there is political stability, in a country where there is political stability, business houses will be very happy to do business there because it will a politically stable environment will help them grow and develop their business organization. Whereas if there is a political unrest in the country, say for example a country like America or China now, there is a lot of political unrest which is happening. I mean all around the world, but majority in these two countries, when there is so much of political unrest, business houses become hesitant to start business there or to keep running their business there. They think of moving to countries which enable where there is more ease of doing business. So that is on political environment. And the last dimension of business environment is legal environment. Legal environment is made up of all your laws, your statutes, your acts, your rules, regulations, norms, conditions, the court judgments, which define the way your business should be done in the country. Those are on the legal environment. For example, I'm starting a factory today. I need to comply with the provisions of Factories Act. I need to comply with the provisions of Minimum Wages Act. I need to comply with the provisions of Industrial Disputes Act. I need to comply with the provisions of Workmen Compensation Act. If there are women employees involved, I need to comply with the provisions of Maternity Benefits Act. So many acts are to be taken into consideration. I'm just telling a very precise list. There's a very comprehensive list of it. So whichever business that you're starting, you need to check, you need to cross check whether you are complying with all the rules and regulations, all the acts which are related to that particular business. So that is on legal environment. So now let us sum up all the dimensions of business environment. The first one being economic environment, the second one being social environment, the third one being technological environment, the fourth one being political environment, and the fifth one being legal environment. So, when you're speaking on economic environment, the biggest change in the economic environment for India came in the year 1991. This was a year when the new industrial economic policy was introduced, which was the bottom line of this policy was liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Liberalization is focusing on liberalizing the way you do business. It was more on abolishing license raj for most of the industries, and it was on freeing up the restrictions which were earlier there on movement of goods and services. So that was on liberalization. On privatization, it was to increase the significance of private sector in the nation building process. It was moving more of the industries from public sector to private sector. So now private sector had a bigger, better role to play. And next on globalization. Globalization is a focus on a boundaryless world which ensured there was free flow of goods and services across nations, free flow of capital across nations, free flow of information and technology across nations, and there was a common statute which would govern the arbitration and reconciliation process, and there was this common governance statute. So this was on globalization. So the new industrial economic policy, the fulcrum of that policy were on three factors. One is liberalization, the second one is privatization, and the third one is globalization, which was called LPG very famously. So what was the impact of this change that the government brought in on business and industry? We can precisely tell that in 7 items, in 7 points. The first one is increasing competition. Why increasing competition? Because people from across the world can come and now do business in India. When they can come and now do business in India, for the domestic sellers here, for the domestic businessmen here, it is becoming more competitive because now they have to increase the quality of their product. Now they have to cut down the price of product because there was a lot of product, lot of similar product that was coming into the market. So there was increasing competition. Because there was increasing competition, what happened? There were more demanding customers. More demanding customers because now the customers were used to global quality as well as domestic quality. Now, if domestic quality was bad, then the people would go in for global quality, which means they would go in for global sellers. So the domestic market would get deteriorated. So now it was need for everyone to improve their quality because the customers have become more demanding now. So what is the next one? There was this rapidly changing technological environment. Why is technological environment rapidly changing? Because globalization now guarantees free flow of information and technology. Whatever is the technology which is currently in use in India was now was now sent out. I mean, it was now rendered useless by the good world class technology that was brought into India by the global sellers. So now there was this rapidly changing technological advancement. Whatever was the technological advancement that was happening all around the world was now reflecting in the Indian market as well. So that was a rapidly changing technological advancement. Next is the need for improving manpower. Uh, India was always complaining of this manpower which was unskilled or which was semi-skilled, which was not very of manpower of good quality or potent. So now that global market has now reached India, there was this need for improving the quality of manpower. There was this need for manpower with very good skills, with absolutely world-class skill set, niche skills, and greater commitment. So there was this need to improve quality of manpower. There was necessity to change. Why was there a necessity for change? Because before this 1991 era, most of the businesses were very stable. There were not much of changes which are happening. But now, with global market also getting into India, the market in India was getting very dynamic. It was getting very turbulent. So business houses had to modify each and every day to cope up with the changes that were happening in the market. So there was necessity for change. And next one is market orientation. Earlier, that is before 1991, the market was such that the sellers in the market would first produce the product and then sell it to the market. Whatever they produced, they sold. But now, because of changing demand in the market, you have to first understand the market, understand what the market requires, then go and produce that product and come and sell it. That is how the market orientation underwent a change. And the next one was loss of budgetary support to the public sector. Before 1991, it was public sector which was dominating the business space. But post 1991, post this privatization coming to picture, private organizations were more involved in nation building and there was reducing significance for public sector. So the budgetary support, whatever the government would give to the public sector through each and every budget was now reducing. Now public sector also had a level playing ground whereby it had to up its skills, up its standards of its quality of products to be there in the market. So those were the impact of the changes, the new industrial economic policy on business and industry. Hope you all enjoyed this video. See you next week. Till then, have a great week. Thank you.